Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Larry Little. I'm joined this morning by Zelica Rodriguez from the county's Office of Immigrant Relations and the county's SCC's Census 2020, Nick Kawada. And in just a moment, we're going to discuss the impact of COVID-19 on some of our hardest hit communities and plus resources available. And we will talk about why it is important to be counted in Census 2020. Plus, we will have an update on fire evacuations, resources, and COVID-19 testing. But first, we want to let you know that prior to this segment, we did remove our face covering, so everyone, including our American Sign Language interpreters, can clearly understand and properly communicate the information that we will be sharing this morning. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
So tell us, what has been the impact of COVID-19 on our immigrant communities?
It's definitely created a lot of chaos, fear, confusion. I think that people understand the importance of 2020, the census, understand the importance of being civically involved and engaged, but it really has created more chaos in our community and frankly more of a community that's isolated.
So tell me, let's talk about the makeup of our immigrant community here in Santa Clara County, because there's a misconception that everyone comes from south of the border, but that is not the case. We have a very large and diverse immigrant community here, and many of them are business owners here in the county, and they are being affected by COVID-19.
Sure. 60% of our families in Santa Clara County are immigrants or children of immigrants. And so they come from Mexico, Vietnam, India, Tagalog, the Philippines, Chinese speaking. There's a very diverse immigrant community. And I think that we do a disservice when we think about needs being a one size fits all, or that there is a blanketed immigrant community that lives here. And so we are seeing the disproportionate impact, not just immigrants, but on the different communities of immigrants that exist here.
Share some of the assistance and resources that are available and how your office has been assisting our hardest hit communities.
There's a lot of organizations that are working collectively to really support basic needs, food, financial assistance, diapers, you name it. I mean, it runs the gamut. I think that the reality is that resources are running short. I think that the disproportionate impact on the immigrant community is surfacing the inequity in a lot of the way that our systems have operated and a lot of the resources that have been made available. And so we are seeing a shortage of resources out there.
So Nick, it seems like just yesterday you came on board to handle Census 2020, and now the deadline is approaching.
That's
so
right.
Talk about that.
Yeah, so thanks, Larry, for that. I think the most important thing we need to have folks know is that we have a new deadline. It is now September 30th. There is no need to delay. We need folks to get online, get on the phone line as soon as possible, and fill out the census without delay.
So why is it important? Because I know we've had pretty good participation in the census. Still about a third have not participated in the census. We have one of the best in the state of California,
right.
But it's very important that we reach that third that have not participated, and talk about why this is important too with our immigrant communities and the community in general.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, absolutely. So right now we stand at 74.2% in the county, and actually it's one of the most outstanding self-response rates we've seen in the state. Unfortunately, it's not enough. If you do the math, that leaves 26% of us actually who still have not responded to the census. And with every person who isn't counted, that's thousands of federal dollars not coming to our individual community, funding important social safety net programs, as well as our COVID relief is actually based on 2010 census data. So, you know, all of this money that we would be losing out if people don't fill out the census today. I think the other thing is, you know, this is also determinative of our representation in Congress. We need people to respond so that we have a voice in a very divided Congress in a very divided time, and we need the people who listen to us, who come from our community, to be heard in the important places.
You know, go ahead.
I was just going to add that I think even though we are doing well across the county, immigrant communities are still being undercounted. We're not filling out our surveys, and it is incredibly important. As hard as it's been, I think, in the last couple of months with the citizenship question, with just really not a lot of encouragement in the media, right, to fill out the census and really encouraging our community to fill out the census, I think it matters more now than ever immigrants, not immigrants, just everybody who lives here has to fill out their census so that we are also able to draw down resources to be able to then provide for folks that need the most support right now, especially due to the pandemic.
Yeah. We want to apologize. There's construction happening right outside of the studio. It seems like they plan it right when we're going to do the show. But I want to talk about that census, the question on the census about citizenship. Just talk about that, because a lot of people, although it's not on the census,
yeah.
A lot of people still feel it is, or they feel that somehow filling out the census will, have an effect on their status as a citizen here in this county.
Right. And I think the most important thing, Larry, just like you said, is the citizenship question is not on the form. It never made it. It never made it there. The Supreme Court struck it down. So first and foremost, they will not ask you about your immigration status on that form, period. They are also not going to share any of that information on that form with anybody. It is protected by Title 13, which is a law that protects all information collected by the Census Bureau. In fact, as the program manager for the Office of the Census, I don't even know where census enumerators, census takers will be to go and knock on people's doors, because I don't know who's filled out the form and who hasn't. So the information on the form is highly protected. If you are concerned, you can always reach out to one of our agencies. We're happy to walk you through it. But please take heart in the fact that this information is highly protected and cannot be shared with your landlord, code enforcement, law enforcement, immigration customs enforcement. None of those agencies ever get to touch that data.
So there was a public service announcement that David Campos did here, and one of the comments that was on that post, it said, "This is the government's way of spying on us." So speak to that and let people know this is not the case.
That's absolutely not the case. The point of the census, again, is twofold: getting important funding for our most important safety net programs here in Santa Clara County, and then two, political representation in Congress. It's so important, it's actually in the first couple lines of the Constitution. So this is a long-standing, normal part of the way the government is run, an essential piece of our democracy, because they only take it once every 10 years. One of the things I like to say about the census is, as opposed to it being a methodology for people to spy on us, which, by the way, there are probably a lot better ways to spy on us other than the census. If anyone's taking the census, it's 9 very simple questions. Is you pay your taxes every year, every single year, without fail. But only once every 10 years do you get your opportunity to say, what's my piece? What do I get back from my family, my next generation of kids and family members who live in this community?
So if the numbers are undercut on this census, we are going to suffer for 10 years. At least,
if not longer.
And especially if we experience growth in that time as well. So there will be less funding for a lot of programs that are very important here in the community. What can communities do to maximize the participation of Census 2020?
In the next couple of weeks, the county is taking the fact that there's 26% of our population that hasn't been counted, hasn't filled out their survey. And so we also know that the folks that have been undercounted has also been our immigrant community. And so to that end, there will be folks out in your community knocking on doors, asking questions. These folks are trusted individuals, probably your neighbors, going out and saying, hey, fill out your census. Do you need support? Please, if you see them in your community, feel free to ask them questions. If you want more information about what was said here today or any other information that Nick shared, please stop some of these folks that you're seeing in our communities with shirts that say census, right? And say, what else can the county do, or how can we support you, or what other resources are available? These are people in your community who really want to make sure that you get counted, especially during the pandemic, especially during a time when we're dealing with wildfires. Our safety net is incredibly much more important than it ever was in this time. And so we all need to do our part to make sure that we get counted and really draw down those resources for our most vulnerable families.
And to add to that, we should be very clear that right now, There are census takers with the Federal Census Bureau out there getting people's information who have not yet filled out the census form. There is even the possibility that if you completed the form for quality assurance checks, they may even knock on your door to make sure that the information was given correctly. So just to let you know, there are a couple folks out there. In the next couple of days, Zelica and I will be working very closely together to get out information through our community-based organization, through our website, et cetera, to really show you and identify the difference between someone who's affiliated with the county to encourage you to fill out the census form and an actual census enumerator or census taker who works for the Federal Census Bureau who can actually help you walk through the form step by step and get you counted today.
So what can people do right now if they have not been counted? Because of course it's very expensive here and overpriced. So we have a lot of unconventional living situations here.
Yes.
What can people do right now to be counted?
Yeah, so the easiest thing that you can do right now is go to my2020census.gov. That is the Federal Census Bureau's website. You can fill out your census right away, or you can even call to fill it out on the phone with a census taker at 844-330-2020. They offer multiple language lines as well. For more information, please go to our website at sccgov.org/census, and you can find all of the information there.
One thing we didn't discuss is there will be people who speak your language and look like you in the community working, and talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it was very important for us as we began this door-to-door engagement, business engagement as well, that we had trusted members of our community. And that's really why we have the Office of Immigrant Relations with us on our team, because we want to make sure that these are key identifiable folks in the community that you can know and you can trust, and that will be able to communicate with you in the language that you desire. But I'll hand it over to Zelica to kind of fill in a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and the people that will be coming out into the communities are people who will be tested, are folks that will have the protective gear to make sure that they're protecting themselves and you and your family, right? We're not just saying in a time of COVID, go out and knock on doors. I think the reality has been that the county has done everything to make sure that families across the county get counted. But really, we are less than 40 days out, and we really want to make sure that everybody's counted. And to that end, we're doing everything possible so that we're protecting the folks going out. And then we're also protecting your families when we're knocking on your door. And so specifically in the east side, we really want to make sure that people get visited. One, you'll probably get a flyer. So if somebody knocks on your door and you don't answer the door, you'll get a flyer giving you some next steps, reminding you to fill out the survey. But I do encourage you, if you see folks walking around in your neighborhood and maybe they're not at your door, stop them, say hello, ask them where they're from, see how they can help. And I would also say, let them know what it is that you need, not just necessarily right now during the census, but we know that there's a lot of needs out there and the county wants to hear from you.
And again, when's the deadline?
September 30th.
September 30th.
Yes.
So we'll bring you back to discuss people being counted.
Absolutely.
Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, firefighters are still battling fires in and around Santa Clara County. Just yesterday, officials issued an evacuation order for Jackson Oaks, Holiday Lakes, and Thomas Gray communities. We strongly suggest that you sign up for notifications on alertscc.org. Again, that's alertscc.org. That way you can receive the latest information by email, text, or phone. Also, be aware of your surrounding. If it appears to be a dangerous situation, do not wait for an alert. Go ahead and evacuate and then check with authorities later. Also, if you need assistance to meet the requirements of an evacuation, you can call 408-762-1635. Again, that number, if you need assistance being evacuated, is 408-762-1635. Also, follow us on social media for the latest information on the evacuation updates, COVID-19, as well as resources. And of course, all of this information will be posted on this segment right after the broadcast of this Facebook Live. We want to let you know that the difference between an evacuation order and an evacuation warning. Well, the evacuation order means that there is an immediate threat to your life and you are required by law to leave your property. The evacuation warning means that there is a potential threat and you have just a little bit of time to pack your gear and leave. The Red Cross is recommending that you go ahead and pre-pack a bag containing your medications and waterproof everything, and then go to some of the resource centers so they can provide information on getting shelter for you. Of course, we have the American Red Cross working at some of those evacuation locations. Also, air quality today will be unhealthy, so stay inside. If you work outside, please limit it to 60 minutes. And I know we are doing outdoor dining, but today is not the day to do that. But we still want to support our local restaurants. So go ahead and order takeout and take it home. That way you are not exposed to the smoke. And of course, we want to exercise, of course, too, but don't do it outside today. With all of that, we are still in a global pandemic. COVID-19 is still here in the county and in the U.S. Just yesterday, we had 327 new COVID-19 cases here in the county. So again, be very careful, be safe, exercise protocol and the guidelines, wear your face coverings, wash your hands, as well as physical and social distancing. We need to continue to work hard to slow the spread, and that starts with being tested. Of course, we have testing happening right now at our fairgrounds, so be sure to, they were not very busy this weekend, so be sure to stop by and get tested. All right, that will do it for this edition of Live with the County of Santa Clara. We will be back here on Wednesday. Almost forgot what day it is. Of course, Facebook Live in Spanish is on Wednesday and Friday, and we have Facebook Live in Vietnamese on Thursdays at 10 a.m. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a good day. Be safe.